Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Hello and welcome to the Women's Roundtable podcast powered by the Think Factory, where we learn how women think big and grow their business. My name is Susan Kleiner. I'm a partner with Outside General Counsel Solutions, and I'm the host of today's episode. And I'm so happy to have with me here today, Lauren Garner. Lauren currently serves as the Vice President of Demand Generation and Partnerships at Ascent Funding, where she applies her growth-oriented mindset to drive transformative change within the nearly $2 trillion student loan industry. Lauren leads a marketing team that is dedicated to student success and changing the way students pay for higher education. Over the past 20 years of her career, Lauren has found that strategic partnerships, affiliates, and acquisitions are the fastest way to grow and scale a company. She has led successful partnership campaigns with established brands like Nike, Puma, Asics, Adidas, and Tony Robbins, and helped emerging brands like Ascent scale to fund over $1 billion. She has spearheaded multi-million-dollar partnerships and relationships with over 5,000 affiliates. By fostering a culture of collaboration and strategic alignment, she not only amplifies campaign reach, but also fosters enduring partnerships that yield substantial results. While working for Tony Robbins, Lauren developed a passion for personal and professional growth. She was a founding member of LEAD at Ascent and is a mentor in her spare time for college students at San Diego State University. And I want to welcome Lauren to today's episode.
Thank you, Susan. I'm so grateful to be here today.
Yeah, so first off, I want to hear some more about Ascent Lending. And let's set the record straight. Ascent is a lender, but it does so much more. Can you explain?
Absolutely. So Ascent at its core, we're a student success company, and we help college students plan, pay, and prosper throughout their journey. We're almost like a venture capitalist firm that invests in student success. We're actually the only lender, including the federal government, that allows student loans to be dischargeable in bankruptcy. So it is in our best interest to make sure that students are successful and get great careers after college and are able to pay back their loans. We lend ethically and transparently, and we really stand out in the market for several reasons. So on that plan side that I mentioned, Ascent offers this ROI calculator, and it really helps students understand the cost of their education relative to their major and what they would be able to earn after graduating from that institution. So we help them make smarter decisions before they've even decided what college to attend. We also just launched our Ultimate Guide to Paying for College, which is this amazing free tool that helps students and their parents figure out ways to save and not overpay for college. And we also own collegeconfidential.com, which is the world's largest forum and community, people engaging and helping one another to make smarter decisions in choosing where to go to college. On the pay side, as you mentioned, we do offer student loans. We offer very innovative student loans in the industry that is really changing the way that people pay for college. We offer non-co-signed loans that enable students to get a loan without a co-signer. We really look at the outcome. So what school they're attending, what's their GPA and major, and then we lend to them based on their future potential. So that's very, very innovative and something that we're very proud of. In addition, we also offer scholarships, and we have our summer scholarships coming up. We have 4 right now on our website and continue to grow the number of scholarships, and we really enjoy helping students that way. And then the last phase is prosper. So how do we help set students up for success on their journey after they graduate? Schools are amazing, but so few schools have set up programs to help students get jobs after they graduate. Unemployment and underemployment is rampant with recent college grads, and they've spent so much time investing in their education and so much money. And so our Ascent platform, Ascent Up, helps us get students paying internships as well as secure a job. We help them with their resume. We help them get onboarded for their first day on the job. And that's something that we are really proud of to help students.
Wow, that's pretty amazing that you have all of those tools. It's like you really put your money where your mouth is. Or maybe you put your mouth where your money is in this situation. Kind of the opposite where, you are so aligned with the students and their growth, that you offer these tools. And like you said, the loans are dischargeable in bankruptcy, which is kind of a big deal, right? Because
it's huge. Nobody else is doing that.
And not that anybody wants to think about future bankruptcy, but you're kind of, hedging your bets with the people that you loan to and say, we're partners in your success. And so if you fail, and if you're not paying back your loans, I guess in some way, Ascent is on board for that as well, right? Like they take the good with the bad.
Yeah, we're fully aligned with supporting the students throughout their entire journey.
And these different tools that you were talking about, College Confidential and the ROI calculator, these are all on your website?
Yes, there's 2 websites. So you can go to ascentfunding.com, and that was where you'll find our ultimate guide to paying for college. And then collegeconfidential.com is a forum-based platform. We offer scholarships there as well. Great community there to get advice from other college students as well as parents. We have a great community there. And we also do have the tools for the guide to paying for college on there as well. So I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to give free resources to help people make better informed decisions when it comes to their college education.
Well, as the parent of 2 college students, I can tell you that these sound like really valuable resources, and thinking about how to pay for college certainly, has kept me up at night, for some of it. So your ROI calculator is pretty interesting. Since both of my kids are already in school and at institutions and chosen their major, I'm not sure I want to look at the ROI calculator just now. I should have talked to you a few years ago, but it is what it is. So listen, I want to get a little bit personal now. And when I looked at your LinkedIn profile, I know that you've been at Ascent for a while, but you kind of recently had a stint as a vice president at another company. So you were at Ascent, you left, and you came back to Ascent. And I know there's a story and there's a message in there that is, I think, particularly valuable for our Women's Roundtable listeners. What's the message? Don't burn bridges. But what else is there? There's more there to the story.
Yeah, it's been a journey. Just to back up and start from the beginning, I was one of the first employees at Ascent. I got in at the ground floor, and I've never had an opportunity like that in my career to really build something from literally nothing to fund over $1 billion. That was such an amazing opportunity. We literally launched the website my first week at Ascent. So we really were at the ground floor. And then since then, Ascent's gone on to win national awards with Forbes and NerdWallet this year alone. We've really grown. And so I was personally attached to Ascent and passionately attached to Ascent. I enjoyed working there. I was actually here longer than any other company that I had ever worked for. But as I was approaching 40, I think as most individuals do, you kind of reevaluate your life and what am I doing with my career and where am I spending my time? And I had realized that I had been a director level for almost 8 years. And I really wanted to be a vice president. And so I took some steps with my company. I love that Ascent invests in professional development, and in our annual reviews and actually it's technically biannual reviews, but we talk about our goals. We talk about our future career plans. And I had made it very clear that I wanted to be a vice president. And I had asked my boss, I said, what am I doing, or what am I not doing that a vice president does? And my boss didn't have a really good answer for me and said, we think you're ready. Let's build the plan to get you there. So that was really exciting for me. But I had to, first of all, make it known that that was my career goal. And I also had to make sure that I was building the business case for the company that, look, I'm already doing this job. It makes it so much easier for your boss. And that's what I tell anybody on my team who wants a promotion. What's the job you want? Why? And then what are your blind spots? And where do we need to grow you so that you have those skill sets so you're ready for that job? And I was on my way to get a promotion, and I got contacted by a headhunter on LinkedIn, and they sold this amazing opportunity that I was so excited about. I got to be on the executive team and lead all of marketing for one of the fastest growing companies in America. And it really was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I had to take it. And I explained that when I had my exit interview with HR, and it was hard, but I will say there are some things that kind of the lessons learned about how I was, we call it like a boomerang, but there were some lessons learned about, I think, some tips for other individuals about how you can leave that door open and give yourself more opportunity. And I think it's really critical to understand that how you leave a company matters. Whether you left for another opportunity or you get laid off or even if you get fired, how you carry yourself and your brand really does matter. And it's important not to burn bridges. So one of the things that really helped was HR in my exit interview. They actually set the tone and they said, you never know, maybe you'll come back one day. And we actually do have quite a few folks at Ascent who have left and then come on back because it is such an amazing company and such a great culture. And we really are like a family. And you miss it. And they said they'd love to work with me again. And that really stuck with me. And so when you're leaving a company, I think I kind of boil it down to maybe 6 things that you can do to leave on as good of terms as possible. So obviously saying, I'd love to have the opportunity to work with you again and kind of setting that tone, but put in as much notice as possible. It's so disappointing when you have employees that put in a week or less than 2 weeks. If you're an executive, I recommend at least 3 weeks if possible. Also, in my instance, when I left, I offered to serve as a mentor for those that I left behind. And even if the company, I did offer to do some contracting, which I did. So I did reviews and also offered to train my replacement to help set them up for success. So I did that on contracting. But then on my own free time, I also offered to mentor the employees I left behind. And I did get calls and texts pretty frequently for the first few weeks. And then after that, it tapered off when they got new leadership to support them. I also created a transition plan and I worked with HR and my boss to do that to help set them up for success. And I worked overtime. I mean, I am a workaholic. I love what I do, but sometimes you'll see people leave and they just take their foot off the gas pedal. I had an employee leave one time and they're like, hey, this isn't my problem anymore. And the company's still paying them. And I'm like, if we're still paying you, this is your problem and you should be still giving it your all. And because of that statement and that way, I would never work with that. I would never hire that person on my team again. And so really how you show up until your very last minute, it does matter. And then lastly, just stay in contact. I stayed in contact with the executives. I followed the company on LinkedIn. I liked and commented on our LinkedIn post for Ascent and congratulated my fellow employees on promotions and achievements. And so I stayed in contact, and even around the holidays, I would meet up for dinner with my former boss and a couple of my employees, and we'd always reminisce and say, oh, I wish we could work together again someday. So I kept that door open and I left on good terms. And then I had a great opportunity, like I said, that I left for, but fast forward 18 months later after I left, one of the executives contacted me about my dream job where I'd be a VP at Ascent. And not only that, but I would get to focus on all the things I love, like leading partnerships and demand generation. Before I was doing all of marketing, and there's parts of the marketing mix that just don't jazz me as much as these high impact opportunities. And because my goal is to one day be a chief growth officer, this role was just perfect and placed to my strengths. So that is my journey and how I got there. And now that I'm back at Ascent, I say I'm in my happy place. I am doing what I love every day, leading and mentoring a high impact team and continue to grow the company. And I've honestly never been happier.
Well, those are really some great tips that you gave there. But I wanted to just say, like, there were 2 things that really stood out for me in what you just said. And the one was how you carry yourself and your own brand, right? Like, not only are you a marketing expert, and a marketing advocate for your company now, but you always have to market yourself, right? Like, we always have to be concerned about our own brand. And it looks like, you've been true to that. But the other thing that really stuck out for me with, the 6 things that you talked about is, like, we have to act with integrity, right? Like, yes. Basically what you're talking about with all of those 6 things is, mind your brand, right? But carry yourself with integrity and be a person with integrity and act with integrity and, keep in touch and everything else. But that's so important. And so, good for you. And what a powerful message that is.
Thank you.
I know that, just talking about this here, I mean, you mentioned it before, and I know it came up in your bio. You do a lot of mentoring, both in and out of your organization. Can you tell me some more about that?
Absolutely. I'm so passionate about mentoring. I've gotten so much value out of it when I've been mentored and when I have mentored other people. I got really inspired when I was working for Tony Robbins, and I just saw firsthand the power of mentoring and coaching. In my spare time, I volunteer for the Aztec Mentor Program at my alma mater, SDSU, San Diego State. And it's just so rewarding and fulfilling. And especially too, because my career right now is centered on helping students and student success. So it's just been amazing. I've been doing it for over 5 years now. And just to see these students go from not even having a resume or a LinkedIn profile to then dominating. One of my mentees is crushing it at Amazon now. And it's just so cool to see how these young adults have been able to take charge of their career and really take advantage of mentors. And mentorship, just like anything, it's you get out of it what you put into it. And I've had students that I've started a semester and we meet 3 times and then they just get busy and decide not to meet with me. And that's okay. That's their choice. But the ones that really lean in, that ask me questions, I have 20 years of mistakes that I can share with them to help fast track their success. And so it's been super rewarding. And, from my perspective with mentors too, I have different mentors for different areas I want to improve upon. And I think that's kind of a mistake too that people might make when they first have a mentor, is you're relying on one mentor to coach you on everything, on every aspect of your career. And it's important, once you feel comfortable with mentors and you have the right goals and objectives, find the mentors that specialize in the areas that you're looking to improve. And so there might be a mentor that I have specifically for leadership or career development. There might be another mentor that I seek for public speaking engagements. And, it depends on your goals. And so I think it's important to diversify mentors and also know that mentorship doesn't have to be formal. Some people think it's like this really formal, stuffy, contractual obligation, and it's not. And mentorships, you can have, I call them micro mentorships, where you can have a success interview. If there is somebody that's in the industry who's accomplished something that you want to accomplish, and I've had students get job offers because of this tactic, where you find someone on LinkedIn or someone who's well connected that's achieved something you want to achieve. You say, hey, I would love to have just 30 minutes of your time to have just a quick success interview to learn about your career and your journey and how you became so successful. And it's amazing how many people will say yes to just a 30-minute conversation. And sometimes, if it's been great, you can say, hey, this has been so helpful. Could we meet again next month? Or is there someone else in your network that you could refer me to who's as accomplished as you are? And it really helps you grow your network. And students, it's amazing because everybody wants to help college students. We can all relate to being a struggling college student trying to build a network and start a career. And it opens so many doors. But even an adult in their 40s like myself has been able to leverage success interviews for micro mentorships. So that's been amazing. And then I think the last kind of cornerstone of mentorship and development, about 4 years ago, I was one of the founding members of the Ascent Lead Committee. And that's our internal company committee that we have dedicated to professional development. And we have events throughout the year. We help manage and coach not only managers, but also, even interns. We want to make sure that people at every level of the organization are fulfilled and have a development plan. And actually, a few weeks ago, we had our company-wide professional development week, and I got to present on radical candor to the company. So it's also just a really great opportunity to share great information and kind of mentor in a group capacity.
That's all amazing advice. I 100% am going to have my college students listen to this episode, and I'm going to say, listen to Lauren, but take notes. What she's saying is such good stuff, but not just for college students. I mean, I think the stuff that you're talking about with the micro mentoring, I mean, we can all use micro mentors, or we can all use other people to support us and, kind of help us with our own development. And we're always learning. And that's actually a really interesting point about radical candor. The fact that you offered that as professional development at your company. For people that haven't heard of that before, just a couple minutes, can you explain what radical candor is?
Absolutely. Radical Candor is a book by Kim Scott that's one of the best books I've ever read as a manager, because feedback has historically been my weakness. And I didn't want to give negative feedback because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I grew up in the 80s, and my mom raised me on the Thumper rule, if you've ever watched Bambi. And Thumper says, if you can't say anything nice, don't say nothing at all. And honestly, that was how I was raised, was if you have something negative that could hurt somebody's feelings, don't say it. And I think that there's a challenge when you have positive personality like me and positive workplace. There's a lot of conflict avoidance where cultures just don't talk about things, and it prevents us from being real and honest with one another. And the cornerstone of Radical Candor is really to give feedback while caring personally and challenging directly. And there's a great video on YouTube. It's about 5 minutes, but it summarizes it beautifully. But essentially there's kind of this matrix, and on your x-axis you have challenge directly. So that means confronting the person. And then on the y-axis you have caring personally. And there's these 4 different quadrants. And so Radical Candor is in that sweet spot of caring personally and challenging directly. And then below that you have obnoxious aggression, which is kind of the jerk, the feedback where it's like, you're giving feedback because you don't really care. You're just being snarky and you're just giving, this obnoxious feedback. And then on the other side, there's manipulative insincerity where you're not really telling them you're saying, but it's kind of, passive aggressive. And then ruinous empathy, which is where I used to fall, where you're worried that you're so empathetic and you're so connected to the employee that you don't want to give them the feedback. You don't want to hurt their feelings. And that can really hold them back. And I think that probably the best example that I could think of, and one that I've used many times throughout my career, is I've had individuals that I work with who say like excessively. And when I say excessively, to the point where I will take a tally. And I had one of you're not supposed to have favorites, but one of my favorite employees, we were working on a presentation for the executive team. And while we were practicing, I kept noticing that they said like. And so I started to take a tally halfway through, and I tallied over 72 times that person said like. So after the end of their pitch, and again, this is just us one-on-one, not in front of a lot of people, just the 2 of us. And I said, you have great content, but your message is getting distracted by how many times you're saying like. You said like 72 times. I know you really want to crush this presentation with our executives. I would recommend that you consider slowing down and try not to use like as much. And they were so incredibly grateful. And of course they crushed it. They took my advice. And honestly, I've had to have this like conversation and do the tally with multiple employees. It's something that I still work on myself, but just something as small as that to show, hey, I care about you. I want you to be successful. Here's what I've observed. And it's factual. It's not something that I just say, hey, I noticed you say like a lot. You said like 72 times. It helps, I think, build trust, and also shows them that you're personally invested in their success. And so that's one of the big takeaways from that book. It's an awesome book. I feel like every company, every manager should read it.
I definitely think I need to check it out. And now I'm all nervous about how many times I've said like or during this interview, for sure. I think another thing that I hear a lot with women, or I notice, is when people talk and it's like they're constantly going up in voice and asking questions. I think women in particular have a tendency to do that, and not to speak in a more even or determinative zone, sort of, when we go up, like we're always asking questions.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I mentioned I have mentors and coaches for different things, and I have been doing quite a few speaking engagements, something that I'm still working on, but my coach had called that out to me, and I had never noticed that. And when you end in an upswing, it sounds like you're questioning yourself instead of really being more affirmative and assertive. And it is something that women tend to do. So it's something I'm working on myself.
Well, good tip. So this has been really great. I want to know, what do you have coming up that you're looking forward to?
So actually speaking about my improvement in my public speaking, I'm really excited this July to be invited to the Affiliate Summit East in New York. I'll be on the main stage talking about affiliate marketing and growing strategic partnership. I've been working on public speaking for a while now, and I've just all these amazing opportunities have come to me this year. I feel so privileged. Earlier this year, I got to speak at LeadsCon and obviously speaking to you on this podcast. I think I'm quite a talker, but I don't really identify as a speaker. So that's something I'm working on, but I'm really looking forward to that next month.
Oh, that sounds amazing. July in New York City, also a wonderful time to visit. Just kidding. But I'm sure that'll go great. So with all of this, if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would you say?
Stop worrying.
Oh.
I think that is one of the things they always say, oh, if you're on your deathbed, nobody ever says, I wish I worked more. And I don't know if that's true. If you really love what you do, you love working. But I think every person can say, I wish I worried less. And for me personally, I have a hyper-vigilant personality. I'm always thinking ahead, thinking of the different scenarios. And there's a quote that I love that says, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're at peace, you're living in the present. And so I really try to remind myself of that I need to stop worrying about things that haven't happened yet or what could or couldn't go wrong. And I also try to set myself up for success so that I'm less worried. And so I think that there's certain things that you can do if let's say you're worried about let's say you're in a volatile career situation, save money so that way if you do get laid off or your company goes under, like you have that prepared. Or if you're worried that you're going to miss something, schedule it, make time for it. I think that there's ways that you can mitigate worrying. But for me, I just feel like I worry too much and I need to kind of let that go. So that's been a challenge. It's just my personality. So I'm working on it.
Oh, I totally hear that. So if people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to find you? If they want to call you and do one of these success interviews, how do they get in touch?
The best is just to find me on LinkedIn, Lauren Garner. I think there's only 2 or 3 of us out there. So if you just look for Lauren Garner at Ascent, I'll be there. I love being on LinkedIn and growing my network, and again, love mentoring. And if I'm not, available to help, I have a great network that I've always been able to kind of refer others to as well.
Well, I'm betting that some people after listening to this will take you up on it. You'll have to let me know. So we like to ask all of our guests on the Think Factory, what keeps you up at night?
That's a good question. It used to be caffeine, but I stopped drinking caffeine 6 months ago. So literally that's what was keeping me up at night. But figuratively right now, we're going into our peak season at Ascent. So our company is highly seasonal. So we do about 80% of our volume in July and August. And there's just so much opportunity. It is the greatest problem to have. But for every one email I send, I get 3 new ones in my inbox. There's just so much opportunity, and it is hard to keep up. And sometimes it can be hard to just balance work with my personal life. And so I've realized there is no such thing as work-life balance in my world. So I think about it as work-life negotiation. And it's like a seesaw. And sometimes work is more important. Sometimes my personal life is more important. And thankfully I have a very supportive company that's very flexible with everything. But from my perspective, one of the things that I found to be really helpful is I start to schedule everything. I used to just completely blow through lunches. I wouldn't even eat all day because I was in so many meetings and just so excited about what I was doing. And it was my fault. All these meetings were meetings I booked. It wasn't other people. And so I think for me during these busy times, it's really important to schedule not only time for yourself, but even my husband and I had our date night on Wednesday nights. That's something that we schedule. Or if I have yoga at 7 p.m. tonight and I have it in my calendar. And so I think it's really important, we schedule our work life, but sometimes we don't schedule our personal life, and then that's when work kind of bleeds into it. So I will put those things after work hours even on my calendar to make sure that I'm committed and accountable. And that way the things that I feel like I should be doing really become my musts. And that's what I feel like with my personality. If it's on the calendar, I'm doing it. So that's how I kind of mitigate that and get a few more hours of sleep every night.
That sounds great, Lauren. Well, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on today's episode. So many good kernels of information. I also am very happy to meet you and hope our paths cross again. And to our listeners, be sure to check out the other Women's Roundtable podcasts so you can learn how women think big and grow their business. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.